Hey, Coach, what type of role can KJ Hamler have in the return game this week with Deontay being out?
He could be both, punt return and kick return. Use his skill set. There's really four guys: Phil, KJ, Tyree, all those guys. Callahan, I'm sorry.
Next one, Ryan.
Hey, Trey Marshall is one of your core special team guys not playing this week. How do you replace those snaps?
It's next man up. Josie did a nice job at PP last week, and from a kickoff cover, punt return game, Bosby stepped in. So it's next man up. Might not be those same players, but guys got to go. They got to step up and play.
Next one, Brandon Christel.
Coach, it seemed like that was certainly the most complete game from a special team standpoint. I mean, Coach talked about it complete in all three phases. How good did it feel that you didn't put the ball in Grant's hands at all and you made the kicks that Brandon needed to make? Not a lot in the return game, but you didn't need much. So just how good was it?
It's good, especially Sam, I thought had a great game. He hit the edges, so we were able to control their returners. Got to do the same thing this week. We got two great ones. Return game, didn't really get great opportunities in the kick return game. Had a penalty. Can't have a penalty, get out to the 27, then we put them back on the 17. So the penalties are the biggest thing that we have to improve on from a return standpoint. But, yeah, it was a nice game to come out, and, we did our part. Got to get better field position. Did not get great field position, in my opinion, in the punt return game. So we still have a lot to improve on.
Next one, Mike.
Yeah, Coach, Sam Martin, it was more pronounced that he was directional to the right. I know that's one reason why you signed him, one reason why you liked him in free agency, but it seemed like the game where you did it the most. Why was that? And you did talk about continuing to do that.
Yeah, that's his strength, his directional punting. It's not one of those deals where it's something that we try to do the most. We're always a directional punt team. It's just he's had his most success in this game, and that's just cutthroat, honest with you, Mike. It's something we try to do all year long, and I've always done that in my career. But it was his best game by far in terms of hitting the edges. You punt two balls out of bounds, you punt the other 1 yard, away from the sideline. That helps a ton.
Okay, just a reminder, guys, if you no longer have a question, please lower your hand. Go ahead, Eric DeWalla.
Hey, Coach, they're in the top of the league covering punt returns and kick returns. What makes them so good in that area, the Saints?
Start with from a punt standpoint, Morstead, directional punter, punts the ball 45 yards to the edge both ways. He's done it his whole career. He's very, very consistent. In my opinion, he's one of the top 5 in the history of the game, directional punting. So, he makes it easy for them to cover. He doesn't out-punt the coverage. The hang matches the distance. And then from a kickoff cover standpoint, they do hit the edges, with Lutzy. They do a nice job. They got a good core too, Eric, got really, really good coverage units. But it starts with those two specialists and the snapper. You got to get the ball back to Thomas. He's not reaching for balls everywhere, but they're very consistent. They have a lot of play speed. They're tacklers, but it starts with their specialists hitting edges.
Final two, Brandon and Arnie.
Coach, I don't know if we've asked you about the friendly competition between Brandon and Matt Prater, and with Matt hitting that 59-yarder. Do you even think about helping him try to set the record or have a longer kick and or potentially set a 65-yard record if the opportunity calls for it, or you just go situational kick to kick, game to game?
Situational game to game, kick to kick. I'd be lying to you, B, if I even knew anything about it. I don't know anything about the Prater and Brandon deal. I just focus really here on what's going on here. Like I said last week, I am really ignorant to what goes on out on the outside of football and then within my own family.
Final one, Arnie.
Hey, Tommy, having said that, I'm doing a story on how there's been more attempts from 50-plus and more makes. They're on a record pace. I'm wondering what you attribute this uptick this year in particular to. Is there anything that comes to mind why that would be the case, that those long kicks are being tried more and they're
I don't have an answer for you, Arnie. It's I think that in the last 6 years, you guys I'm sure have noticed, but the 50-plus yard field goal, it's not, people don't fear it anymore. In 2012, you'd see guys are 3 of 5. That was the best. But now everybody's going back there. They're doing it in college. The the expectations, I guess the answer I gave you, the expectations for these kickers are higher. You know, Brandon McManus, his expectations are higher. I got here 3 years ago, and, you know, it wasn't, you know, what he wanted from plus 50. It wasn't from plus 40. And you just try in their mindset to take away the limits. And I think in practice, I'll just give you an example of what we do. You know, Vic puts him back there so that every single day, 57, 59, these are the same as 38 yarders. We kick just as many of them. So it's just normal for them now. And I think it becomes, they're taking away the limits. And I love it. I think it's great. You know, they don't put limits on themselves. We don't as individuals. You don't put limits on yourselves, I'm sure. And so I think it's just the expectations have increased with the kickers, and kudos to them, you know, in the league. I hope it keeps going like that. You know, let's get to 70s and in the 80s here eventually. Do something with this ball. Let's let the special teams take over the whole game scoring wise. That's just selfishly for me. But, you know, the future, you never know what's coming. But 5 years ago, it wasn't like this.